Good morning, 8th graders. I'm here to bring you a quick video on the Bill of Rights, so please make sure you have your notes in hand, and as you watch the video, go ahead and fill in the blanks and then answer the questions at the end. I'm really excited to get into the Bill of Rights because these are the amendments that, the first 10 amendments that really protect you as a U.S. citizen, and I'm excited to get into it so you can really understand the world around you and understand your rights as a U.S. citizen. So the essential question is, why are the Bill of Rights important? So as you watch this video, you'll come to understand why these rights are super important and why everybody should know these rights. What are they? The Bill of Rights protect you as a U.S. citizen. There's 10 of them. Everything from freedom of religion, freedom of press, right to bear arms, and we're going to dive deep into that right now. So Amendment number 1 pretty much contains your freedom of religion. So you could practice any religion that you want. You could be a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Catholic. You could believe in the flying spaghetti monster. You could even have no religion if you wanted to. It's not really like that in other parts of the world. In some parts of the world, you are required to have one religion. So we're very fortunate to live in a country that has a freedom of religion. We also have the freedom of speech, where you can, if you want to go to the mountaintops and scream how much you love pizza, or how much you love our president or hate our president, you do have that freedom to do that. You also have freedom of the press. So that means that journalists can go out and publish work. It has to be fact, but they have the freedom to do that. So that's why you have different news networks like CNN, Fox. You can watch those too and see how there's different biases, how they have different perspectives, but you are free to publish your work. You could even go with your phone and be on public property and film a protest, and you can publish that on your Instagram or your Facebook. That's also a freedom of press. Or the right of people to gather in groups to protest. So this protects U.S. citizens' right to protest. You're probably seeing in current news that people are protesting the right to open up their shops. People have protested against global warming. You might see people protesting against abortion. So people in the United States have the freedom and the right to protest if they want to. So to give you a little video to understand more what the Amendment number 1 is, check this out.
But why is America different, and why should we preserve these values? Let's take a look. 1. The First Amendment protects the free exercise of religion. If you are a Muslim, a Christian, an atheist, you can freely practice your beliefs in America. The founders did not believe that religion should be divorced from politics, but they prohibited the government from establishing a national church. You see, liberty can only be kept if Americans remain a good and moral people, and the Constitution promotes the free exercise of religion. It doesn't eliminate religion. 2. Freedom of speech is one of the most important rights in our Constitution. It allows Americans to speak their opinions without fear of punishment or regulation. This means the First Amendment not only protects speech that is widely accepted, it also protects speech that isn't popular. In fact, freedom of speech would be meaningless if it only protected speech that we all liked. 3. I'm sure you've heard all about fake news in the media recently, but what if that fake news was coming directly from your government? This is why we have a free and independent press. The press searches for truth and promotes virtue and unity. The press is also a check on the government and helps to advance American values. 4. The First Amendment also protects the right for people to gather peacefully. It guarantees the right for citizens to petition the government to protest or give an opinion on an issue. So all these people you see marching in the streets with picket signs for God knows what are only able to do so because of the First Amendment. America is a country where citizens can practice their faith and speak and gather freely without government intervention. These freedoms, guaranteed under the First Amendment, are critical, and we must preserve them at any cost.
So that's the First Amendment, one of the most important amendments, giving you the freedom of religion, speech, freedom of press, and the freedom to protest. Amendment number 2 is the right to bear arms. This means that the government cannot stop citizens from keeping guns to protect themselves. So this means you can legally purchase firearms if you are of the age that you are able to buy them legally, and if you're not a felon. There's lots of controversy over the freedom to bear arms, what type of weapons, should we have assault style weapons, are they contributing to school shootings? So amendment number 2 is always in the limelight, always in the news, but the Constitution does protect citizens' rights to bear arms, to own a fire weapon to protect themselves. Amendment number 3 means no quartering. So you guys took my class, so you guys are smarter than the average bear. This means quartering, if you remember. During the American Revolution, the British king would force the colonists to house British soldiers, to feed them, clothe them, give them up their homes. So Amendment number 3 protects United States citizens from the government forcing soldiers to live in their homes. So no soldiers can be kept in people's homes in time of peace without permission of the owner.
Amendment. It was written in response to the British occupation and as a result of the colonists having to house or quarter soldiers in their homes during the American Revolution. Because of this amendment, our government can never force us to house soldiers in our home. It was written in response to the British occupation and as a result of the colonists having to house or quarter soldiers in their homes during the American Revolution. Because of this amendment, our government can never force us to house soldiers in our home.
The Fourth Amendment protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. If the government wants to search anything, you must have a search warrant, which tells them what they're looking for and what they can search for. So this basically means that the police or any government official cannot search your home, cannot search your car, cannot even search your backpack or your phone without a search warrant. So if a cop knocks on your door and says that they want to search your house, they don't really legally have the right. You can allow them to come in, but you also have the right to refuse it unless they have a search warrant to come into your house. So to show you what that looks like.
The Fourth Amendment is the right to search and seizure. The police can't come into our home without a search warrant and take our personal property. Today, many concerns have arisen about our rights to privacy and technology. For example, can the government track your location with your smartphone, or can social media postings such as on Facebook and Twitter?
Amendment number 5 is also really interesting. So it basically states a person cannot be charged with the same crime twice. So let's say you stole a piece of gum in 2009 and you paid your fine, you went to jail for that piece of gum, and in 2019 they're not going to charge you for stealing that piece of gum in 2009 because you can't be charged with the same crime twice. So once you paid your fine, once you did your time, you can't be charged for that same crime. It also states a person does not have to testify against himself or herself in court. So let's say you have to go to court one day and you're in trouble. You do not have to testify against yourself. You do not have to go to the court stand and be questioned. You can plead the Fifth. So this means, like this cartoon says, does the Fifth Amendment apply to report cards? Meaning, do I really have to answer to my report cards? So I can plead the Fifth. So to show you what that looks like.
The Fifth, it's all about due process. You've probably heard the phrase, "I plead the Fifth," in movies or on TV. They're talking about the Fifth Amendment, which says that you don't have to take the witness stand against yourself if you may end up incriminating yourself.
Amendment number 6 states when a person is accused of a crime, he or she will have a quick and public trial. So let's say that you get a speeding ticket. You're not going to spend 10 years in jail waiting for your trial to determine whether you're guilty or not guilty of that speeding ticket. You will have a quick and public trial. Amendment 7 also has to do with the courts, basically stating that you do have a right to a jury. So if you get in trouble, hopefully you don't, you do have the right to a jury, meaning it's usually like 12, 15 people that don't know you, that are not biased at all, so that it's more people to determine whether you're guilty or not guilty rather than just one person like a judge.
Done. The 6th and 7th Amendments are about how the legal system works. If you're accused of a crime, you have the right to a speedy public trial and an impartial jury. You also have the right to a lawyer and the right to take the stand if you choose. This is important because it will prevent the accused from sitting in prison forever and insists that the prosecution proceed with undue delay. The 7th says you have the right to a jury trial where 12 impartial peers decide your innocence or guilt in the courtroom, as opposed to a judge doing it all alone.
Amendment number 8 has to do with no cruel or unusual punishment. So as you see in this cartoon, the judge says, you're going to jail for 22 years, pal. And the little girl's like, I took a candy bar. As you can see, that's totally unfair, right? You're not going to spend 22 years in jail for stealing a $1 candy bar. Same thing as if let's say you run away from cops, they're not going to cut off your right foot for running away from the police. That would be cruel and unusual. There's big debates whether or not the death penalty is cruel and unusual, but the Eighth Amendment does protect you against cruel or unusual punishment. Sometimes it is in debate, but it does protect you against that. Amendment number 9 and number 10, we're almost done. Amendment number 9 basically states people have other rights that are not listed in the Constitution quite yet. So although there's 10 amendments right now, when they created this, women didn't have the right to vote, African Americans were slaves, African Americans definitely didn't have the right to vote, gay marriage was not legal. So the Ninth Amendment says, although they're not listed in the Constitution quite yet, there will be, or there is chance that there will be amendments in the future to protect people's rights. So it doesn't just end at 10 amendments. There's more rights in the Constitution that are not yet stated here. And lastly, Amendment number 10 has to do with the states. And this is going to be super important and something that you might want to, or that you will want to understand as we try to open up our United States economy, which states are deciding to open up, which states are deciding to not open up yet. They all have their own rights. When I say open up, like opening up their economies, because we're in the COVID-19 pandemic, all these different states have different rights. So Amendment number 10 says, any powers not given to the national government is given to the state governments. So again, we're in the COVID-19 pandemic. All these different states have acted drastically differently. New York has acted different than Florida. Florida has acted different than New Mexico. All these states have acted differently from each other because they have their own powers. But also the federal government has certain powers, but the states have powers themselves. So let's say that the president wants all the states to open up their economies, but New Mexico doesn't want to do that quite yet. New Mexico does have that right. To show you what I mean.
Foolish for relying on your projections, Mr. President? The only thing he's doing, let's be honest, well, it's up to the states to reopen. By the way, it was always up to the states. What are you going to grant me what the Constitution gave me before you were born? It's called the 10th Amendment. I didn't need the President of the United States to tell me that I'm governor. And I didn't need the President of the United States to tell me the powers of a state. People did that. Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, they are the ones who gave me the power. And I don't need the President of the United States to read the Constitution for me. Maybe he should have read the Constitution before he said he had the power to open the states, where he did a very graceful 180, and many people allowed him to do the graceful 180.
That was a New York governor talking about the 10th Amendment, basically stating that New York, as a New York state governor, he has the right to open up his state, that the president does not have the right to just tell all these states what to do. He does not have all the power. He is not a king. He is not all powerful. The states have the power to run their state. So thank you guys for taking these notes. Please make sure you go back in case you missed anything and answer the questions. I'm super excited to dive deep so that you can really understand your rights and understand the world around you. Have a great day.